FM News Talk 97.1. On demand audio. You're listening to Allman in the Morning. Common Sense Radio.
Good morning, you bunch of drunks.
621, our Cabela's gift card giveaway at 810. Don't forget about that. Stacy on the right as well. You see this here. Oh, people are starting to call in and also email me because I wanted you, the story about gun sales going through the roof on Black Friday. They described people who are, I guess, supportive of the Second Amendment, which kind of sounds weird anyway. They call them Second Amendment activists because you're concerned about the possibility of Obama and the rest of the guys limiting gun sales or access to guns. But if you support the Second Amendment, you're a Second Amendment activist. What does that mean? As I pointed out, I came up with a new one for tax increasers. They're 16th Amendment activists. How does that sound? What about somebody supportive of free speech? Are they First Amendment activists? Anyway, Robert Adams emailed me and said, anti-coal activists, big bank activists, and free speech activists, anti-free speech activists. Yeah. People who want to shut down conservative talk radio. I'm talking about amendments. Come up with one. 969-9797-866-455-9797. Hey, Tim, thanks for calling the show. How are you, sir?
Hey, good morning, Jamie. You know, I used to call you so aggravated and peed off that I couldn't see straight, and now it's just like I'm in La La Land. It's like we live in it's like every one of us lives an episode of the movie Groundhog Day. Didn't we just do this last year?
Yeah. You mean about the taxes?
Yeah, with everything. Yeah, with the taxes. It was just like kicking the can. At the end of the year, it was, we're going to fall over the cliff. You know what? We just need to.
Well,
it's just upsetting. We've gone nowhere. We got the same president. Republicans still have the House. Democrats still have the Congress. It's like the last 4 years were just a giant Groundhog Day movie.
Yeah. Well, you're right. I mean, it's kind of sad. It's funny how Tim says he's been kind of lulled into this numbness, and a lot of us have, because we know it's just a game. As Crowdhender pointed out, President Obama has no desire to fix our fiscal problems because he knows what he has to do to fix them. He knows what the Democratic leadership in the Senate has to do to fix the problems, and that is cut spending. He doesn't want to cut spending. He wants to go like the guy in Underdog, in the opening to Underdog. He wants to be the guy who just simply turns the guy upside down and starts shaking him out and getting money to fall from his pockets. That's what Obama wants to do. Instead of addressing the fiscal problems of this country, which are totally tied to spending, he wants to blame the 2% of the wealthy for not paying enough. And as Hammer points out, it's a non-issue. That 2% of the wealthy, it's nothing. It's pocket change. As he calls it, lunch money. It's nothing. It's not going to have any impact whatsoever on our budgetary problems whatsoever, raising taxes on the top 2%. It's going to have impact on them for sure, but it's not going to have any impact on the budget. And so what we get is this game being played with Republicans and Democrats now getting together to attack Grover Norquist. Chuck Schumer went on the floor of the U.S. Senate to talk about old Grover.
One Republican after another has been rebuking this lobbyist for his uncompromising stance on taxes. Republicans in both the House and Senate are deciding they no longer want to be married to this pledge. Republicans are saying they want a divorce from Grover Norquist.
Grover Norquist, who has never been elected to public office, as the Wall Street Journal points out, and suddenly he's the problem? You know, Saxby Chambliss and these other dishonest politicians, Lindsey Graham and the rest, throwing Grover Norquist under the bus and being celebrated for actually being dishonest, for signing a pledge and then saying, well, now we can't do it anymore. And they're being lauded. Now, should they have signed the pledge in the first place? I don't know. And the pledge was, of course, not to raise taxes. It's like 20 years old. And Grover Norquist has been utilizing this as part of his organization for a long time. And it's worked. But Republicans have signed it so they get elected is what they've done. And now suddenly they don't want to have anything to do with it. That's dishonesty right there. Alan Simpson is the latest one, from Simpson Bowles. He's attacking Grover Norquist, too. Check this out.
He's got then 70 guys who didn't go to Congress to limit government. They came there to stop it. So how do you deal with guys who came to stop government, or Grover wandering the earth in his white robe saying he wanted to drown government in the bathtub? I hope he slips in there with it.
Well, I can't beat that.
Alan Simpson hoping for the death of Grover Norquist by slipping in the bathtub. Of course, I know he's just being figurative about that. He's not being literal. But, Alan Simpson's one of those guys who has overstayed his welcome, too. But, and what's wrong with stopping government? I mean, see, that's the problem is when you have people like Simpson and Lindsey Graham and Chuck Schumer and all these guys, government is their industry. Do you realize that? These guys, it's their company. That's what it is. Government is their corporation, is their company. And they're a bunch of racketeers and thieves. And they want to keep the operation going. And so, does Grover Norquist want to stop government? Hell yeah. I mean, the Founding Fathers created the U.S. Senate to stall government because they knew about the perils of an oversized federal government. So when they came up with the idea of this, these different branches of the legislative branch, the Senate was solely devised to be an obstruction. Solely devised. So the Founding Fathers didn't like government all that much either, They continually put in certain barriers and stop areas where you couldn't get past them, or at least it'd be very difficult to. And the Senate was a great example of that. So of course Simpson wants to keep government going because these guys, it's their company, it's their interest. They're making money off it, they're making their pensions off it, they're getting their health care from it, all that kind of stuff. So, of course, they want to keep government going, and they want to make themselves useful because they keep wanting to have themselves as relevant individuals. Oh, by the way, so much for believing in government for this one woman up in New Jersey, Donna Van Sant. But before I get to that, did you hear about the latest old white male who is going after that brilliant black woman, Susan Rice? Here's the old white male right here.
What troubles me also is that, obviously the changes made to the unclassified talking points were misleading.
Oh, that's not an old white man. That's actually a female Republican senator. How's that going to play on Al Sharpton's show? Yeah, because isn't the theme on the Al Sharpton show on MSNBC that anybody who dares criticize Susan Rice is wrong because Susan Rice, after all, is an accomplished black woman Rhodes Scholar? Isn't that right? Well, so much for your narrative, buddy. Sorry. Hey, your phone calls are welcome. 969-9797, 866-455-9797. The false promise of FEMA and big government in full bloom in New Jersey. Your phone calls are welcome.